You know, when it comes to catching big bass, there's no more important piece of equipment on your boat than your rods. And I fish for the biggest bass out there. That's why I choose All Pro rods to get the job done. For the ultimate sensitivity and power combination, check out allprorods.com. With the overnight lows, we're in the middle of October right now, with the overnight lows starting to get down, you know, in the 30s, there's a tendency to sleep in. Just say, well, you know, fish are probably not going to be that active at daylight. I'm going to tell you what, when we rounded the corner this morning, when we crested the hill, and just to see all this really dead wood sticking up out of the lake with this crazy mist that was swirling across the top of it. The wind wasn't really blowing, you know, because obviously if you've got a lot of wind, you're not going to have fog. You know, I don't want to sound too cliche, but it was borderline magical. I mean, it's one of those things that you say to yourself once you're here, man, thank God I did not sleep in and miss this. The action really didn't heat up immediately. We didn't catch a lot of fish right out of the gate, but I was just pumped about being in the kayak and out there in the middle of all that and just watching the world wake up. Little guy. Let me take a second and show you what I'm doing. That's working really well, and it's been the only place I've found the fish. What I've got here is I've got a worm hook run up through the worm, but I've got a screw-in style bullet weight, which makes this a Florida rig. Made popular by fishing in Florida in the heavy grass, but it also works great in the wood. When you hang that worm upside down, this weight has a screw in it. You screw it into the head of the plastic, so you need to rig your worm back far enough to give yourself room for that to articulate, and then just text pose or just skin your hook in there. And then when you throw that through the wood, when it falls off into a gap, the weight doesn't fall down in there with the hook on one side and the weight down in a little hole, and it just comes right through that wood really nicely. The friction on that tail as it's dragging through there makes it to where it sleeks through those holes nicely and then falls in, but when it does, it's vertical and you can just pull it right up out of there, and you don't end up with the weight down in one hole and the hook down in another hole, which is where you end up getting tangled up. So if you're fishing submerged wood with a worm, try going to a Florida rig instead of a Texas rig, or a Texas rig and peg your weight to where it doesn't slide up and down the line. For outstanding customer service, expert advice, and an extensive selection of quality kayak fishing products, visit Hook One at kayakfishinggear.com.